when the aliens landed in secret and chose one human to speak for the world. The night sky was unusually quiet, even for a city like New York. Streetlights flickered as a cold wind swept through empty streets. Most people were asleep, unaware that something extraordinary was about to happen. In a hidden field on the outskirts of the city, a strange hum filled the air. A light brighter than 1,000 headlights cut through the darkness. Slowly, almost silently, a ship unlike anything humanity had ever seen descended from the stars. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting the world around it, yet revealing nothing of its secrets. Dr. Elena Rivera, a linguist working for a small, private space research lab, was walking home after a late night at the office. She paused when she heard the hum, instinctively looking up. The ship hovered above the field, and Elena felt a strange pull in her chest, as if it were calling her. Before she could think, a beam of soft, blue light wrapped around her. She felt weightless and then, as quickly as it began, she was standing on the ship. It was enormous inside, yet it seemed to have no edges, no beginning or end. Shapes shifted in the light, geometries impossible to comprehend, yet somehow familiar. A voice spoke, not in words, but directly into her mind. Elena Rivera, do not be afraid. We have observed your kind for millennia. You are chosen to speak for the world. Elena's heart raced. She tried to speak aloud, but her mouth refused. The voice continued, patient and calm. Fear is unnecessary. We have not come to destroy. We have come to communicate. Your species stands at a crossroads, and we require one who can convey your truths. She swallowed hard. Why me, she thought. Because you listen. You understand not only words but intentions. You care for more than yourself. For hours, or maybe minutes, time seemed meaningless. The ship transmitted images and ideas directly into her mind. Elena saw worlds she could never have imagined. Oceans of liquid crystal, cities built inside mountains, and beings who existed as pure energy. They spoke to her not in language, but in patterns of thought and emotion. Finally, the ship's voice returned. You must return. Humanity is not ready to see us yet. But you will carry our message. When the time comes, speak wisely. Unite your kind, for your future, and ours, depends on it. In a blink, Elena was back in the field, the night air biting at her skin. The ship had vanished. In her hand, she clutched a small, translucent crystal, warm to the touch. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Elena knew her life would never be the same. She walked home, the crystal glowing softly in her pocket, aware that she was no longer just herself. She carried the voice of the stars. The next morning, Elena woke to a world that seemed unchanged, yet nothing felt normal. The city buzzed with its usual chaos, honking cars, people rushing to work, the smell of coffee in the streets, but Elena's mind was elsewhere. The memory of the ship, the alien voice, and the crystal pulsing in her pocket made it impossible to focus on anything ordinary. She went to her lab, hoping that immersing herself in research would help, but even the familiar hum of computers and blinking lights seemed faint compared to the echo of the alien presence she had felt. Her assistant, Jamal, noticed her distraction. Elena, are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. She smiled weakly. Something like that, something bigger than any ghost, Jamal. I can't explain it yet, but I need your help. Jamal raised an eyebrow. With what? Another late-night experiment? No, Elena said, lowering her voice. It's the aliens. They came. They chose me. Jamal laughed nervously. You mean like in the movies? Lights, spaceships, little green men. Elena pulled the crystal from her pocket. It glowed softly, pulsating in rhythm with a heartbeat. Jamal's eyes widened. You're serious, he whispered. I've never been more serious in my life, Elena said. They want me to speak for humanity. They said the future of our species depends on it. I don't know how yet. I just know that we have to prepare. Word of her encounter spread quickly, though Elena tried to keep it quiet. Even within the research community, whispers of her story created skepticism and fear. A few journalists approached her, but she refused to speak publicly, not yet. The world wasn't ready, and she wasn't sure she was either. Meanwhile, Elena began to notice strange phenomena. People seemed to notice her in odd ways. Dogs barked at her when she walked past. Streetlights flickered. Sometimes, she felt the presence of the aliens even when she was alone. She realized the crystal wasn't just a keepsake, It was a link, a constant reminder of the responsibility now resting on her shoulders. Late at night, she would hold the crystal and hear the voice again, guiding her. The world is fragile, Elena. Humanity must learn to speak as one. Only then will they be ready to hear us. The burden of choice weighed heavily on her. Who could she trust? Could she convince humanity to listen without panic or hostility? And most importantly, what would happen if she failed? One evening, a meeting was called by a secret coalition of world leaders. Elena received an encrypted message asking her to attend. She entered a room filled with representatives from every continent. Cameras were forbidden, security was tight. Elena Rivera, the spokesperson began. We've heard your claims. We are aware of unusual phenomena worldwide. You say aliens have contacted you. If this is true, your message must reach the world. But how can we be sure? And how do we speak for all humanity? Elena felt a chill. This was exactly what she had feared. The world's skepticism and fear concentrated in one room. She took a deep breath and held the crystal in her hand. They are not here to harm us, she said, her voice steady. They have watched humanity for centuries, maybe millennia. They have chosen me to prepare us for a future where our voices must be united. I don't have all the answers yet, but I know this: if we cannot speak as one, we will fail, not just ourselves, but our planet and everything we care about. A murmur ran through the room. Some faces were skeptical, others fearful, a few intrigued. It was clear. Elena had just begun the most difficult task of her life. The aliens had chosen her, but now the world had to decide whether to listen. News of Elena's encounter eventually leaked despite her attempts to keep it secret. Social media erupted. Some called her a prophet, others a fraud. Headlines screamed, "Alien contact confirmed," or hoax. Governments issued vague statements, neither confirming nor denying extraterrestrial involvement. Fear and curiosity spread like wildfire. Elena knew she had to act quickly. The crystal pulsed in her pocket, almost as if urging her forward. She began recording messages, not for television or social media, but for herself. Messages meant to clarify, to organize her thoughts, to plan the path forward. "We are not alone," she recorded. "And when the time comes, we must speak together. The aliens have chosen me not to speak for you, but to help you find your own voice." Her first attempt at a public address was disastrous. Government channels refused to air it, mainstream media mocked it, and conspiracy theorists painted her as either a puppet or a charlatan. Even some scientists dismissed her claims as delusions. Elena felt the crushing weight of doubt. Could one person truly unite the world? Amid the chaos, a small group began to follow her. People from all corners of the globe, scientists, spiritual leaders, diplomats, and ordinary citizens, reached out. They had seen unusual phenomena too: strange lights, unexplained disappearances, sudden surges of energy. They believed her. One night, in a small, dimly lit room, Elena met with representatives from this emerging coalition. "We've seen it," said Amina, a climate scientist from Cairo. "We've experienced things that cannot be explained. You're not alone." Elena held up the crystal. "They are here. They've been watching, waiting. And they chose me. But I cannot do this alone. Humanity must speak as one." An older man, a retired diplomat, leaned forward. "How? The world is too divided. Nations, religions, politics, they won't listen to one voice." Elena nodded, understanding the truth in his words. "Then we build many voices. Each of us speaks to our part of the world, but we must share the same message. Unity is the key. Fear and suspicion will destroy us before the aliens even speak." Meanwhile, unexplained events grew more frequent. Crops in distant countries suddenly thrived without reason. Strange lights appeared over deserts, oceans, and cities simultaneously. Animals behaved strangely, migrating in perfect formations, gathering in places humans could not explain. The world was beginning to sense something beyond comprehension. Elena realized the aliens were preparing humanity for something larger. They were testing patience, empathy, and the ability to cooperate. And the crystal pulsing in her hand reminded her that time was limited. She sent a message to the coalition. "We need to act now. Every nation must hear the same message at the same time. We must coordinate. If we fail together." They began planning. Satellite communications, encrypted networks, coordinated media broadcasts. Elena's small team worked tirelessly. The task seemed impossible, but hope flickered. The world was fractured, but perhaps, just perhaps, it could come together if guided correctly. Late at night, alone in her apartment, Elena held the crystal and heard the voice again.
The moment approaches. Speak wisely. Speak for all.
The future depends on it. Elena whispered into the empty room. I will. I promise. The coalition grew quietly, working behind the scenes to coordinate a global message. Elena became the central figure, the voice the world had yet to hear, but soon would. Despite growing skepticism, she pressed forward, knowing the aliens' instructions were clear. Humanity needed to act as one. Elena traveled across continents, meeting world leaders in secret. In Geneva, she spoke to diplomats who had never before believed in extraterrestrial life. In Beijing, she convened scientists and engineers who had observed unexplained phenomena firsthand. In Nairobi, she addressed tribal leaders and activists who had felt shifts in the natural world that no one could explain. Everywhere she went, she carried the crystal, which glowed softly in response to her emotions, almost as if guiding her path.
But not everyone welcomed her.
Powerful figures resisted the idea of a single human representing the entire planet. Some feared loss of control, others feared the unknown. Secret meetings were ambushed by journalists, hacked by conspiracy theorists, and debated in parliaments. You cannot control the world, Elena, a high-ranking official told her during a tense discussion in Brussels. No one person can speak for all of humanity. Elena held the crystal tightly. I am not here to control. I am here to unite.
This is bigger than politics. Bigger than borders. Bigger than fear.
If we do not act now, we risk everything we cannot yet understand. Slowly, small victories began to emerge. A coalition of nations agreed to a synchronized broadcast. Scientists developed secure communication lines to reach every continent simultaneously. Social media platforms cooperated to amplify the message. Ordinary citizens, sensing something extraordinary, began to listen. The day of the global broadcast arrived. Elena stood in front of a specially designed camera array, the crystal resting against her chest. She had prepared her speech for months, practicing the words that would carry the message of unity to billions. People of Earth, she began, her voice steady despite the tremor in her heart. We are not alone. Beings from beyond the stars have observed us, and they have chosen to speak through me, not to command, but to guide. Our world is fragile, yet filled with potential. We must speak together, act together, and embrace a shared responsibility. Our future depends on unity, not division. Together, we can meet what is coming. Divided, we will fall before we even begin. Across the globe, people watched. Some cried, some scoffed, some were transfixed, unable to look away. The words carried a weight that transcended language, culture, and politics. The crystal pulsed, faintly echoing the energy of the alien presence, as if validating her message. Even in the most unlikely places, seeds of cooperation were planted. Rival nations paused military exercises. Communities helped one another after natural disasters. Scientists collaborated openly, sharing knowledge that had once been hoarded. The world was not perfect, but it was listening. That night, alone in her apartment, Elena held the crystal and felt a warmth unlike anything before. The alien voice spoke again, softer than before, almost like a sigh of relief. You have taken the first step. Humanity listens. Continue, and they will understand. Divide them, and all is lost. Elena knew the path ahead would be far harder. This was only the beginning. Resistance would rise, fear would persist, and not everyone would believe. But for the first time since her encounter, she allowed herself a glimmer of hope. Humanity had taken its first true step towards speaking as one. Weeks after the global broadcast, the world was in an uneasy state of transformation. Millions had embraced Elena's message, but fear and doubt lingered. Natural disasters intensified in some regions, triggering panic. Rumors of alien manipulation spread, and extremist groups claimed humanity was being deceived. Elena and her coalition worked tirelessly to maintain calm and encourage cooperation, but cracks were appearing. Governments debated whether to publicly reveal all knowledge of the aliens or maintain secrecy. Social media, once a tool for unity, now became a battleground for truth and conspiracy. One evening, while reviewing communications from the coalition, Elena felt a familiar pulse in the crystal. The alien presence was near, closer than it had been before. The crystal glowed brighter, almost insistent, and she heard the voice again.
The time has come to test them.
Humanity must decide. Will they unite, or will fear consume them? Elena's heart raced.
She gathered the coalition via secure video link. They are coming, she said. And this is a direct test.
How the world reacts will determine if humanity is ready. The aliens revealed themselves in the sky, but only to select regions. Across Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Americas, millions witnessed enormous ships descending silently. They were unlike anything described in books or films. Enormous, shimmering structures, shifting forms that defied physics, pulsating with colors that seemed alive.
At first, awe filled the air. But it quickly turned to panic.
Governments scrambled military forces. Citizens fled streets in terror. News outlets broadcast conflicting reports, some claiming invasion, others claiming hallucinations. Fear threatened to undo everything Elena and her team had worked for.
Elena knew she had to act immediately.
She appeared on every broadcast channel simultaneously, her voice calm but commanding. People of Earth, do not be afraid.
They are not here to harm us. This is the test we were warned about. We must remain united.
Follow instructions from local authorities, help one another, and do not let fear dictate your actions. This is the moment to prove we are capable of speaking and acting as one species. The crystal in her hand pulsed violently, transmitting the aliens' energy in waves that could somehow be felt by those receptive enough. In many areas, crowds began to listen.
Panic slowed.
People helped strangers, forming human chains to aid the vulnerable. Military units paused, lowering weapons, watching for signs of hostility or absence of it.
But not everyone complied.
Riots erupted in some cities. Extremist factions attacked each other in fear and misunderstanding. Elena realized that humanity's unity was fragile, easily disrupted by fear. She reached out to leaders in those regions, guiding them with instructions amplified by the crystal's energy. The aliens, observing silently, finally spoke through Elena, not in words, but through a shared vision. People around the globe who were receptive saw it in their minds. Visions of distant worlds, civilizations that had thrived through cooperation, and others that had fallen to fear and division. The message was clear: unity was the key to survival. For the first time, millions experienced the same moment of comprehension. Many wept, realizing the truth: humanity could either rise together or be lost to its own discord. Elena collapsed afterward, exhausted but relieved. The aliens withdrew from visible space, leaving a sky illuminated with soft auroras. She knew this was only the beginning. The first test had been harsh, but it had shown glimmers of hope. Humanity had survived the initial challenge, but the next step would demand more than words. It would demand a choice that could shape the future of the planet, and beyond. The days after the alien test were tense. Humanity had survived, but the cracks were clear. Some nations praised Elena and her coalition, while others accused them of manipulation. Fear and doubt still lingered like a shadow across the globe. Elena spent hours with the crystal, seeking guidance. One night, she felt the pulse grow stronger than ever. The voice returned, clearer and more urgent.
They are ready. But words alone will not suffice. Show them the truth of their own hearts.
Let them see themselves, and they will understand. The next morning, Elena gathered her coalition. We've been given the next step, she said. The aliens want humanity to communicate not just with them, but with itself. This is a test of understanding, empathy, and unity. Every nation must participate.
Preparations began.
Using advanced technology provided subtly through the crystal, Elena and her team designed a global communication network capable of sharing thoughts and intentions across borders. It wasn't telepathy, but close, a combination of visuals, emotions, and symbols that transcended language. The message the aliens intended was not just information, it was understanding. Elena and her coalition worked tirelessly to brief leaders, scientists, educators, and community organizers. It was a delicate balance: give enough information to prepare the world, but not so much as to spark fear. When the moment arrived, billions of people were connected through the network. Elena stood before the camera array, the crystal glowing warmly against her chest. She raised her hand, signaling the start. Immediately, images filled the minds of those connected. Distant worlds, civilizations built on cooperation, and disasters caused by division. People saw glimpses of themselves, not just as individuals, but as part of a collective species capable of greatness or destruction. Emotions surged: fear, awe, hope, regret, determination. And then, the alien presence became tangible. The entire planet felt it, a wave of energy that was neither threatening nor overwhelming, but inviting. People felt as if someone, or something, was reaching out, asking them to open their hearts and minds. In that moment, Elena realized the truth. The aliens had not come to impose authority or control. They had come to reveal a mirror of humanity's potential. Those who embraced unity felt it resonate within them. Those who resisted felt isolation, confusion, and doubt. Throughout the day, global news channels reported incredible acts. Rival nations suspended conflicts, communities shared resources, scientists collaborated openly, and ordinary people reached out to help strangers in need. Social media became a network of cooperation rather than argument. For a few precious hours, humanity acted as one. Elena, exhausted but resolute, held the crystal and whispered, "This is what they wanted us to see. This is the path forward. If we remember it, if we choose it, we can survive anything." The alien voice returned, soft but filled with warmth. "You have done well, Elena. The test is nearly complete. Humanity sees itself, and some have chosen wisely. But the final choice remains. Will they embrace the unity that will define their future, or will they fall back into division?" Elena closed her eyes. She knew the coming days would determine the outcome. The aliens had revealed the mirror, but humanity would now decide which reflection to follow. The world held its breath. After the aliens' revelation, humanity faced its greatest test yet. Governments, communities, and individuals had seen their potential reflected in the alien mirror, but the final step, true, collective choice, remained. Elena convened the coalition once more, this time in a secure underground facility designed to coordinate the world's decision. Representatives from every continent joined, their faces tense but determined. "This is it," Elena said, holding the crystal. "The aliens have shown us who we can be. Now it is up to humanity to decide if we will act as one. Every choice we make in the next hours matters. Fear, greed, or pride could undo everything." Outside, the world watched and waited. Cities were quiet, as if holding their collective breath. Through the network Elena and her team had established, billions participated simultaneously in a synchronized act, a conscious decision to embrace cooperation, empathy, and shared responsibility. Not everyone chose wisely. In some regions, old rivalries and suspicion flared. Militaries prepared weapons. Leaders resisted the call for unity, fearing loss of power. Panic spread in pockets, and the crystal pulsed sharply in Elena's hand as if warning her of the risk. But in most of the world, people listened. They helped neighbors, shared resources, forgave old grievances, and reached out across borders. Cities that had been divided by conflict for decades witnessed people coming together for the first time. Families, strangers, and communities found connection through shared purpose. Elena felt the pulse of the crystal intensify, a warm, radiant force enveloping her. The alien voice spoke for the last time before the decision would be finalized. "The choice is made. Will they endure? Will they embrace the unity we have offered? Elena, you have guided them well, but the outcome rests in their hearts." At that moment, she realized that she had done everything she could. Her role was not to enforce the choice, but to inspire it. Humanity had to speak for itself, not through fear, not through compulsion, but through understanding. Then it happened. Across the globe, the pulse of unity became tangible. People reported seeing shimmering light, feeling warmth in their hearts, sensing connection across oceans and continents. The crystal glowed brilliantly, a beacon of hope, and Elena knew the message had been received. Those who resisted were left isolated, their fear a sharp contrast to the collective resonance of those who chose cooperation. Even they could feel the shift. The world itself was changing, guided by the unified will of billions. Elena looked up at the night sky. For the first time, the aliens were visible, their ships suspended in silent approval. They were neither imposing nor demanding. They were witnessing humanity's choice. The voice spoke one final time, gently. "Humanity has spoken for itself. The path forward is now yours. Guard it. Protect it. Cherish it. You are no longer alone, but your future is in your own hands." Elena lowered the crystal, exhausted but filled with awe. She understood the weight of what had just occurred. Humanity had faced its reflection and chosen hope, cooperation, and empathy. The aliens had arrived in secret, chosen one human to speak for the world, and that human had helped guide billions toward their own voice. The test was complete.
The moment had passed.
And yet, Elena knew the journey was only beginning. Humanity had been given a chance, a new path among the stars, but it was up to them to walk it. The world slowly began to settle into a new reality. The alien ships had disappeared from view, leaving only the memory of their presence and the glow of the crystal as proof that humanity had been chosen for something greater. Governments restructured priorities, focusing on cooperation and shared progress. Communities that had once been divided now worked together, inspired by the global test they had survived. Elena returned to her quiet apartment, the crystal resting on her desk. She no longer needed to hold it. Its glow now pulsed gently, a soft reminder of the responsibility she had carried and the success she had helped achieve. For the first time in weeks, she felt calm. People reached out to her from all corners of the planet. Messages poured in, thankfulness, curiosity, ideas for building a better world.
Scientists shared discoveries openly. Activists coordinated relief efforts.
Ordinary people helped neighbors they had never spoken to before. Humanity was learning to speak as one, not through coercion or fear, but through choice and understanding. Still, Elena knew the road ahead would not be easy. Old divisions could flare up, and fear could resurface. But she also knew that humanity now had proof of its own potential. When united, it could overcome anything, even the unknown vastness of the cosmos. One night, she stood on a rooftop overlooking the city, gazing at the stars. The sky was quiet, serene, and yet it felt alive, as if the universe itself were watching. Elena held the crystal, feeling its gentle warmth. They are still out there, she thought, watching, waiting, guiding.
But we have chosen our path.
And now, we walk it together. A soft breeze stirred, carrying the scent of rain and the hum of the city below. Elena smiled, understanding that she had become more than a messenger. She was a witness to humanity's awakening, a bridge between worlds, and a symbol of hope.
The aliens had landed in secret.
They had chosen one human to speak for the world. But in the end, it had not been just Elena's voice that mattered. It had been the voices of billions, joining together to create something stronger, brighter, and enduring. And somewhere, beyond the stars, the watchers smiled, knowing that Earth had passed its first test. Humanity had begun to understand that its true power lay not in weapons, wealth, or domination, but in unity, empathy, and the courage to speak together. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Elena placed the crystal back on her desk. The world outside was waking up, forever changed, ready to step into a future it had never dared to imagine. And in that quiet morning, one truth became clear. The universe had listened, and humanity had finally found its own voice.